Game of Thrones fans know the pain of waiting, but in the extended periods between seasons, more theories have spawned than we can shake a dragon egg at. Check out these theories about the world of Westeros that just make way too much sense. Winter is coming, and you haven't subscribed to our channel yet? What are you waiting for? Click the button, become part of our notification squad, and be the first to know when new and exciting content drops.
You can call me Sam, if you want. My mother calls me Sam.
It's not gonna get any easier, you know. You're gonna have to defend yourself.
Game of Thrones is a story within a story told by Sam. Samwell Tarly is the lovable, somewhat useless sidekick of Jon Snow. He is the Samwise Gamgee to Jon's Frodo. There is one theory that the entire story of Game of Thrones is being told by Sam, either years after the end of the events or while sitting around a refugee campfire after a White Walker takeover. Jon might be seen as courageous only because he's Sam's friend, when in reality he did little more than anyone else. Those that Sam dislikes could be portrayed in far worse light. The theory takes the idea of an unreliable narrator and uses it to its fullest extent, and it fits into various parts of the show. As the chronicler, Sam's responsibility is to tell the story of what happened. This also means that only he is capable of passing it on. And as a frequent reader, Sam knows what makes a great story. Sam could take the mundane events of Westeros and craft them into an engaging story for future generations.
Drinking and lust. No man can match me in these things. I shall build a shrine to myself.
Tyrion Lannister is actually Tyrion Targaryen. This might not be the most evidence-based theory out there, but it does hold at least a bit of merit. First, Tyrion has always been an outcast from his own family, so much so that holding an entirely different lineage actually makes a bit of sense. One of Tywin's final comments is that Tyrion is no son of his. Sure, it might be nothing more than an insult, but it could be something a bit more. Tywin's emphasis on family would certainly garner a bit of animosity from Tyrion, especially if Tyrion suspects he isn't actually a Lannister. Then there are the other pieces of evidence. Tyrion has the same color hair as many of the Targaryens, and the Mad King was said to be infatuated with Joanna Lannister. If she wound up pregnant with the Mad King's child and died in childbirth as she did, it would certainly explain some of Tywin's disdain for Tyrion. It might also explain why Jon Snow and Tyrion had a sort of kinship in the first season of the show. It's possible that they are related. Tyrion is one of the masterminds in Game of Thrones. He knows how to manipulate those he comes in contact with, but yet he remains one of the most adored characters despite falling firmly into the chaotic neutral alignment.
When I see what desire does to people, what it's done to this country, I am very glad to have no part in it.
Varys is behind everything. Varys is the former Master of Whispers, which means he knows nearly everything about nearly everyone in the kingdom and beyond. It's not a leap to think he might be able to manipulate that information too. It makes sense that someone able to feed misinformation and stay a step ahead of all the other players would be able to affect the final results. It's like a game of chess after all. Varys helped Tyrion escape, but not before testifying against him at his trial. To complicate matters even more, Varys befriends Tyrion beforehand. Earlier in the series, he convinced Ned to confess. His list of accomplishments go on. All of Varys' actions add up to something. Varys is called the Spider for good reason. His web extends farther than most people could possibly imagine. And between his actions and those of Littlefinger, the whole of Westeros and beyond is playing directly into his hands. His motives aren't clear. Perhaps Varys wants the best for the kingdom and believes Daenerys would be a great leader. Maybe he just wants to be on the winning side. Or maybe his actions are far more sinister, perhaps in the service of a dark god.
Farewell, little brother. Jaime. Thank you.
Jaime is destined to kill Cersei. In a twist of fate worthy of Shakespeare, one theory persists that Jaime is destined to kill Cersei. In her youth, Cersei encountered a soothsayer, otherwise known as a seer, named Maggie the Frog. The soothsayer tells Cersei that she will be queen for a time, until there comes another, younger and more beautiful, to cast you down and take all you hold dear. The word the witch uses is Voluncar, which translates to younger brother, in the High Valyrian language of the East. While most fans believe the person spoken of in the prophecy prophecy to be Daenerys, or a Tyrell. Cersei's actions led to the death of her and Jaime's last living child, and as so many fans have pointed out, Jaime has killed monarchs before. Being granted the title of Kingslayer isn't given lightly after all. That said, Jaime has progressed throughout the series from the heartless Kingslayer to a more nuanced, compassionate man. He fits the prophecy, especially as there is no gender associated with the person in the prophecy.
Well, some of us would say thank you when someone else hunts down their breakfast for them. Why don't they teach you to say thank you north of the wall?
You've got a big mouth, girl.
Jon and Meera are twins. Does Game of Thrones give off a Star Wars vibe to anyone else? One of the prominent theories is that Meera Reed and Jon Snow are actually twins. Not only do they have similar features, but the only person present when Lyanna gave birth, aside from Ned, was Meera's father, Howland Reed. It's entirely possible that Lyanna gave birth to twins, and the children were separated at birth. Howland Reed had saved Ned Stark's life before. The two clearly had a bond, if not friends, then Shield brothers. It's entirely possible that Ned could have convinced Howland to take a child of his own. The actress that plays Meera said she doesn't have any idea, as the actors aren't told anything about the plot. That said, she believes it would be great for her character. The one glaring flaw with this theory is that it would result in yet another secret Targaryen, and there may already be too many of those in the Game of Thrones world. Of course, if it does turn out to be true, we can't wait to be on Twitter at the moment of the reveal. Fans are gonna go ballistic.
And I will stand behind Jon Snow. The King in the North! The King in the North!
Jon Snow will lead the White Walkers. This is the theory that usually has Game of Thrones fans going, wait, what? But it's not as crazy as it sounds. The book series is called A Song of Ice and Fire. We have the fire already with House Targaryen, but where is the ice? It makes sense that Jon Snow, and yes, his name is another reference to ice, might join with the Walkers to take the fight to House Targaryen. It would also neatly mirror the Blackfyre Rebellion. The reason this theory carries so much weight is the similarities and parallels between Jon and Daenerys. Both are outcasts from the rest of the events in Westeros. They both have knowledge of mythical creatures, White Walkers and dragons respectively, that no one else knows of. They've both undergone a sort of death. The two seem to walk on the same path but on opposite spectrums, so it seems fitting that the two will eventually face each other down. There is a final dragon egg that remains to be found, and though the Greyjoys believe it to be at the bottom of the ocean, its location is relatively unknown. This theory gets tossed around a lot among fans. No one is quite sure of the truth, but until Martin gets around to releasing his final novel, the question won't be answered.
You are still someone. And to someone, the faces are as good as poison.
Syrio Forel is alive in Jaqen H'ghar. The man who gave us the fantastic line, "What do we say to death? Not today," may be alive, according to certain theories. The reasoning is that Syrio is actually one of the Faceless Men from Braavos, an assassin that can change his appearance. We know he's from Braavos already, and his skills are nearly unmatched. Also, like the Hound, no one saw Syrio Forel die. The last image viewers see is of his battle against the Kingsguard with a broken sword. From the beginning, Jaqen H'ghar seemed to have a particular fondness for Arya. While it doesn't make a lot of sense that he would have changed his appearance, he could have done so in order to avoid drawing attention to himself after the fight. If he snuck into the cells to escape with the rest, he would be fulfilling his role as Arya's protector and teacher. There are other parallels. Jaqen calls Arya boy, just as Syrio did. He helps her and encourages her, albeit in a strange way. He could have revealed himself to her after their escape, but Syrio might have had another plan in mind. Recent screenshots from Game of Thrones Season 7 show a familiar silhouette that fans think look a lot like Syrio. It's entirely possible the man is still alive, still fighting behind the scenes to protect Arya. Where his loyalties lie, no one is entirely sure, but we would love to see him return.
I want no bloodshed. Tell your men to lay down their swords. No one needs to die.
Ned Stark is still alive. Considering the warging ability the Starks have, it's entirely possible he could have somehow escaped. There's also a theory that someone else might have taken his place, such as Syrio Forel, by using his abilities as a faceless man. He could have released Ned from the cells and sacrificed himself. While it seems unlikely Ned would have remained in the shadows this entire time while his family was decimated, he might be forming an army of his own. The last person to speak to Ned was Varys, who we already know can manipulate nearly everything. Sansa didn't really look at her father's remains. Arya only watched the execution from a distance, so she didn't have a clear view. Catelyn said Ned's bones seemed too small to actually be him. Finally, in the book, Ned's final moments are seen by Arya, not himself. There's no POV like there is for most major characters when they die. Why would Martin choose to take this route? If he is alive, it would be one of the most insane reveals in fiction. Some suggest that Ned might be alive in another country after being shipped out by Varys. The more we read into this theory, the more plausible it starts to seem.
I couldn't really discuss troop movements with you.
I'm not a spy.
Of course, a spy would deny being a spy.
Robb Stark is alive. The Red Wedding has gone down in history as one of television's most shocking episodes. And for good reason. When the Freys and Boltons betrayed Robb Stark, the internet lost its collective mind. However, there are theories that state that he merged into his direwolf just before he died. Just think about the wildling Orell. He shifted into an eagle as he died, so it's not entirely outside the realm of possibility. However, we all know that this is just wishful thinking, as we know that Robb's direwolf also perished alongside him on that faithful day. But this theory allows us to dream, right? It's been years in the show, which means Robb's body isn't in great shape. Not that it was in great shape when he died either. While watching Skeletor Robb duke it out might be fun, it's a bit too far from the plot of the books to really make any sense. This theory's fun, but not likely given what we currently know about the rules of magic in the Game of Thrones world. The first time this theory was proposed, we shook our heads, and thankfully they remained attached.
Hold the door! Hold the door! Hold the door! Hold the door!
Hodor is an agent of the Great Other. The Great Other, if you recall, is an enemy of Melisandre's Red God. Old Nan tells Bran that Hodor is just what he says. Hodor's name is actually Walder. Fan forums believe that Hodor was inspired by the Norse god Hod, given that the name is often pronounced in a very similar way to Hodor. Hod is the Norse god of winter. The Great Other is the god of cold and dark. Hodor is clearly intelligent enough to care for others and perceive danger. He protects Bran with his life. We remember that episode with great sorrow, but it definitely resolved how Hodor got his name. But this theory makes us think that perhaps Hodor could be more important. What if he was more than an agent of the Great Other? Maybe he is the Great Other. It's also possible that his consciousness was affected by the Great Other, allowing Bran to warg into him if necessary. There are a number of different possibilities. Though he's now gone in the series, he might still be utilized for more in the later seasons. You never know in Game of Thrones. Winter is coming, and we can't wait. Grab your parka! If any of these theories tickled your fancy, comment below and let us know. What theory seems most likely to you? Make sure to check out the rest of our content and stay up to date with any new releases by subscribing to our channel. You'll get a notification whenever more awesome content hits the interwebs.